Hello everyone, welcome back to NPTEL online certification course on research methodology for planning and architectural studies. In last few lectures, we have discussed different case studies on qualitative methods. We have discussed the application both in planning and architecture. Today, we'll be discussing another such case study, and in this case, this application is very interesting. So, we'll be talking about much more on the ethnographic and phenomenological approach for a case study. So, without any further delay, let us start today's lecture number 50, Qualitative Research Case Study 5. So, out of this case study, we'll try to understand the overall approach, research approach, and the methods that authors have applied in their study. And we'll summarize our understanding out of this paper and also the key takeaway out of this particular paper. We'll discuss in the summary section of this lecture. Here is the paper titled A Happy Experience of a Dark Place, Consuming and Performing the Jallianwala Bagh. So, this is a location in India where we have certain sort of history, and definitely the incident was not really something very good. Okay, so there was certain sort of sacrifice of our freedom fighters, there was certain sort of fight that happened in this particular place. So, to make that place remarkable, that area is converted to a memorial park. The paper is all about that, and here the authors try to investigate that people's perception about that place, and also that has been done through some sort of ethnographic approach and also phenomenological approach. So, we'll discuss in detail. So, this paper is authored by Mandi Jamalian, Mihalis Kavaratazis and Michel Saren. This paper was published in Tourism Management Journal. This is a very good and well reputed journal with high impact factor. I have also given the full citation of this paper along with the QR code. So, if you are interested to go through the full paper, you can just use this link to get the access. Now, coming to the background of the study. The Jallianwala Bagh site was designated as the Jallianwala Bagh National Memorial in 1951 after the independence. It is situated near the Golden Temple in Amritsar. The memorial garden draws approximately 50,000 visitors daily. So, people they visit that place, and in recent times there are so many upgradation that happened in this particular city to make this city like a smart city, and also like many such places for tourist attraction. But this place is actually an important place, and then you can expect that 50,000 visitor daily, so which is also a commendable number. The site embodies various significances, serving as a symbol of human atrocity, a space for remembrance and the heritage of course, and a reaffirmation of the national identity. So, those like already we have gone through this kind of history, like in our early school days, where we have seen that how the Britishers they actually killed so many of our people in this particular place. It attracts a diverse array of visitors, including the local visitors, domestic tourists from other part of the country, as well as international tourists. So, authors try to investigate this particular study about their feeling, about their experience, about their perception about this particular memorial garden from local, domestic as well as international tourists, and try to identify is there any such kind of variation in their perception. Coming to the research gap, authors have identified certain gaps as follows. First, the understanding how visitors consume and produce the meanings of this historical place at the memorial garden, and which is something which is remain unexplored, that people have not tried before this paper, that okay, how people they consume and produce the meanings in this particular garden. So this is one research gap. Investigation is needed to determine locals, foreigners attribute similar meanings to the site. So in this particular case, as I already mentioned, that people from the locality, people from other part of the country, as well as from outside India, people visit this place. So in that case, is there any such sort of differences in their perception? That was also some aspect to be studied. It is also important to understand the factor influencing visitors' experience, especially regarding the perceived darkness of the site, because this place, if you go through the history, so many people were killed in this particular place. So for that reason, the obviously this is not something to really celebrate, but this is something about, you can say, the dark phase of that particular timeline. So how people really experience that, whether they still remember it, whether they still feel sad about this place, or whatever, like their feeling, that need to be captured, and the factors that are influencing their feeling, that require further exploration, and that's why authors try to you know investigate this in this particular paper. Accordingly, the objective of the study was laid. This study aims to understand the place consumption by examining the thoughts, feelings, and also the performances of the visitors at Jallianwala Bagh Memorial Garden. To understand the place consumption and experience in a context which is rich with multiple meanings, so that is something also, the place is very much contextual. So that's the objective of the study that author formulated. Coming to the methodology, as already I have mentioned, in this paper authors have applied the qualitative research method, and in which the phenomenological and ethnographic approach adopted to explore meanings attributed to the place experiences that experienced by the users. The qualitative methods, including participant observation, this is one method we have discussed while we actually discussed that qualitative research approach, that this is one of the survey method where the researcher himself or herself get involved in that participant group to understand their experience, to observe their activity. And also, along with that participant observation, some semi-structured interviews were also conducted. So if you only go ahead with a structured questionnaire, if you ask some questions and in return you get certain kind of answers, so probably something like the feeling or the experience can be missed out, because you may not think about certain questions where the people they give some answer, like, or they would like to give some answer or comment on that. So in this case it is a mix of two methods, where one is the observation, where the researcher group, the researchers, they involve themselves into that participant group and observe their activity and their uh, consumption of this meaning of this particular place. And at the same time, through the structured interview, you can also ask some typical questions about the place, the history, the legacy, etc. So that way, this is something like giving a holistic overview about the research questions that were formulated and the gap that were identified. This can answer well to fulfill that gap. Coming to the data collection, in this particular study, 12 full day visits conducted in that particular place in the month of December 2017. So, this is also very important. As a researcher, we should understand that in your paper you have to also clearly state when you have done the survey, for how many days you have conducted, what time you have conducted. So, this is something that is there in the paper they have mentioned. In this particular study, the purposive sampling was adopted based on criteria such as age, nationality, and also the embodied activities during the visit. Now, why purposive sampling in this particular case? Because the authors, they would like to understand that particular feeling of the local people, of the domestic people, and also the international or foreign people. So for that, anyway, you need to take care of all of them. And as because it is a qualitative approach, you don't need much huge sample like the way we have discussed in certain papers of where people they have used the quantitative research methods and they collected 600 500 data point. So in this case, a smaller sample can also be representative because they are representing certain sort of nationality or age. So semi-structured interviews of 6 staff members were conducted and also 24 visitors were intercepted during the survey. And then each of these observation and other interview that were like between the 30 to 60 minutes, because a long dialogue exchange and you know to understand their feelings. Something like in this case, why it is semi structured, because it is not always you will have those kind of multiple choice questions, and you just ask a feeling, you note it down, you may have a counter questions to that, so that you can get the overall feeling in detail. The emphasis was given on the verbal, experiential, and emotional and sensory, along with the material encounters. So, this was the approach in the data collection. Now, coming to the data analysis, when you record that kind of dialogue, when you go for a semi-structured interview and all, so all interviews were then transcribed manually. So, from speech to text that were converted. Thematic analysis was employed to identify emerging themes in the data. So, whenever you have certain sort of text, based on that you can do the thematic analysis, looking at the keyword or the frequency of the word, and then you just divide into the theme that we have discussed earlier as well. Then some theme is related to the originality of the place, some theme is leading to the happiness involved into that, somewhere it is maybe the sad part of it, people are feeling very much emotional, and they feel very much like, uh, you can say, either very happy with the current development of that particular location to make the garden beautiful, or maybe somebody just express their view on that, no, so many transformation in that garden probably is hampering the originality or authenticity of the place. So that were something the thematic area were discussed. The process involved the familiarization with the data, then generating the initial code, searching for the theme, reviewing the identified themes, and then finally defining that this particular interview or this particular response can lead to this particular theme. So, for all this exercise, authors have used in vivo 11 software, and that was used to code, then arranging in order, and then integrate the theme into the analysis. So, whenever you go for such kind of text mining software where they looking at the text, they can classify different theme, or maybe it's a look like statement. So that can help researchers to identify different themes. So that's what they have done. Now coming to the rationale for the methods that they have adopted, A phenomenological and ethnographic approach enables understanding of complex meanings attributed to visitors' experience. So, this is something, if you simply go for a structured interview, probably you can miss out some of the feelings, because, as I already mentioned earlier, it may not be possible to capture all the possible questions from just the structured questionnaire that you make. By combining qualitative methods such as participant observation and semi-structured interviews, holistic view of phenomena is obtained. The participant observation offers insight into unconscious and unarticulated practices that the interviews alone may not capture. Because whenever you are just asking some questions and then somebody is answering, so maybe something is very much articulated, but there might be some natural behavior, there might be some kind of natural feelings that one would like to express, that is better, you can capture through certain kind of observation. Or it may be something like where you adopt the participant observation method, where you involve yourself and then try to get the meaning out of it. So here is the paper, you can just look into it, that there is a very well articulated abstract written, where the methods that the authors have applied, they are clearly mentioned, and also the objective of the paper is mentioned. So this is a good criteria to write a good abstract. And then you just give the introduction about the place, what incident was happened in 1990 in that place, and after that post independent in 1951, how that converted to a memorial. So this is actually the location, just here you have the golden temple and all. Now coming to the methodology, it should have clear mention about uh, the methods that you have adopted, and also you have to cite the past literature where they have also adopted such kind of methods to support your thing. Next is the representation at the back, and then here you can see that the statement that were given by the respondent, that were transcribed and then that are represented like that, where somebody expressed that I don't know much about what happened here. I was very shocked when I first entered. You cannot read the first plaque and then ignore it. There was certain installation where you can see the shrubs and other thing, they are representing the soldiers. So many people, they have expressed against this view, why that kind of soldiers should be represented by that. And here is one statement where the visitor, like express the view after 15 years, like there is some sort of changes. Then in this particular case, somebody expressed that I like the garden but I don't like the soldiers, I don't understand why they need to show the killers in the garden. So that is some sort of expression, and like that they have mentioned about all this kind of statement, and there you can see some of them are really giving a good feeling about it, and somewhere they have not. So you can go through this whole paper and you can get more insight into it. There are few locations where people now also gather for certain activity there, and in this particular case authors have nicely portrayed that people are nowadays is try to get the selfie against the wall where there are certain bullet marks, and here you can see that all these faces and other thing, they are blurred. So this is also you need to understand for all such kind of photograph that you use in your paper, so that also need ethical consideration, and you should not showcase the people because you are making certain argument out of it, so you have to blur that particular photograph. So that is another takeaway from such kind of paper. Now in this particular case also you will find some more information, like the statement like the killing people is always bad, this is for past and everything is now changed. So we have to understand that okay, we are now standing in this particular location because of those sacrifice, now we are free. So all those kind of independence and other benefit that we got after those kind of sacrifice over last like almost for 200 years. So somebody expressed that okay, we should feel happy about that place and we should remember it rather than just giving a feeling of the grief and all. So these are different references that they have included. Now coming to the findings here, both local and international visitors react differently to the historical narrative presented at the entrance at the Jallianwala Bagh. While some expresses surprise and curiosity about it, others are taken aback by the juxtaposition of the tragic history with the garden setting. Now, despite its dark history, many visitors find the garden to be beautiful and peaceful, leading to a contrast between the site's feel and its historical significance. So, authors now in this particular discussion section, the result section, they have mentioned about different feelings expressed by the visitors. Different modes of walking, that is also a part of the whole process of your participant observation. The discursive walking and the conceptual walking influence visitors' engagement with that particular Bach and its historical narrative. Now, discursive walking is a method where you involve yourself with the uh, participants, and then while you are walking through a path, you also try to discuss. Okay, you talk to that person and then try to understand while walking. So this is something you just uh, take the interview while you are walking and you are moving through a path, and then you try to understand. So one thing is that you are listening to the question and also you also capture their feelings about those kind of places. Now conceptual walking, where you don't ask the question directly, you just uh, walk in a designated path with the participant and then you just get their observation. So that also influence the visitors engagement. The design of path within the park influence how visitors move through places. So this is something very important, that in a museum or in a park, that it is the design, the pathway will lead to the different area that you would like to show to the visitors. So this is a job for an architect to make the planning in such a way that it can move the visitor through different artifacts, different elements that need to be highlighted in this. The guided tours, so definitely in such places, you foreign tourists especially, so you normally get some guide who can explain the history, explain some of the features over there. So guided tours prioritize certain landmarks within the park, such as the wall, the well, the eternal flame, the museum, while providing the limited historical context, because it is something like some important locations. But where you just move independent, you have more freedom to explore the park at their own space. So in this case, definitely along with the landmark, you can also explore something where normally guide with the limited time and all will not explain, allowing a deeper engagement within the site beyond its historical significance. So definitely whatever is told to you about the place and all by the guide, it is something creating some narratives of this place. But if you move alone and then just you try to explore, you may explore little more than whatever is just mentioned for a guided tour. Selfies and photographs serve as more than just documentation. They resemble rituals that visitors use to understand and pay respect to the place and its history. Some visitors perceive the Jallianwala Bagh as inspiring rather than upsetting, that I already mentioned. viewing it as a symbol of sacrifice and a catalyst for moving forward. So whatever happened, definitely that is a very sad incident that should not be happen. But at the same time, the people like who just express their viewpoints, that because of that great fight over uh, 200 years, and finally we got our independence in 1947, and after that now probably we are standing on the same place, same garden. So this is something giving a sense of peace and also the sense of freedom. So that also some people they expressed. Indian visitors often express the sense of national pride and gratitude for the sacrifice made by those who fought for independence, emphasizing the importance of progress and the resilience in the face of tragedy. Coming to the discussion section of this paper, the findings confirm the concept of a performative field which emerged through simultaneous and non hierarchical interaction between humans, non human elements like landscape, material, representations, and mental construct about the national identity, narratives, or it may be the personal histories. Right. Coming to the conclusion of the study, the design and the representation of memorial places such as Jallianwala Memorial significantly influence the visitor's experience, because it is not like other garden available in the part of the city. It has certain sort of historical importance, and the way some of the remains that were displayed over there, that also give those kind of narratives. The juxtaposition of a beautiful garden with a monument related to the past tragedy creates a clash between visitors' perception of tragic event and their actual experience of the site. Despite the intrinsically dark connotation of the site, which definitely had some sort of sad incident, the visitor's experience is not necessarily dark, as visitors engage with the space in multifaceted ways that go beyond the simple categorization. So as because there is not a common mix, that all of them who were interviewed, they express that okay, I feel very upset when I see this or something. So they express that they also feel the pride of this particular uh, the fight that our soldier fought against the British, and then post independence, that kind of expression, definitely having the joy of independence and also respecting uh, that particular place. So along with those kind of historical significance, they also express that okay, this is something like a representation of a progress, representation of freedom, etc. Now coming to the take away from this case study, the study contributes to a better understanding of the performative field in tourism, where people like definitely consume that meaning of that particular location. The performative field framework offers insight into the dynamic interaction between visitors, the materiality, and the context, shaping the place meanings and experiences. This also give you an important contribution, or you can say it highlights the important approach of this phenomenological and ethnographic approach. Okay, so this is something really important and key takeaway, that also with this sort of qualitative methods, we can come out with some good findings. We can also apply it in such kind of context where you would like to understand the people's perception towards some kind of elements or certain infrastructure, certain historical building. So this method can be very well used, and the way authors have used different type of working as a methodology, like where you go for some kind of conceptual working, or it can be discursive working. So this is definitely is going to be helpful for your research as well. With that, I stop here and already have summarized. So this is case study where qualitative research method was used, and phenomenological and ethnographic approach that authors have used in this particular paper, and then they express the visitor's opinion, and using those kind of you know experience or whatever they just shared as in a semi-structured interview that converted to text, and then the in vivo software was used for categorizing those kind of text into different thematic area, and they express about different opinion about feeling happy, feeling sad, or maybe no relation with the history, they are just enjoying the ambience. So all those things were discussed in detail in the paper. Now these are some further reading, and with that we move forward to our next lecture, which is on mixed method research approach. So we end all the case studies of qualitative research. We already discussed about quantitative research and the case studies. Now many cases we require both of them together to come up with a mixed method to achieve the goals and objectives of the study. So we'll be discussing that, and we'll also discuss a case study on mixed method to give you a better clarity that how effectively a mixed method can solve the problem where the standalone quantitative or qualitative method cannot do, right? So with that I end here. Thank you for joining. We'll be meeting very soon with our next lecture. Thank you.